Novus, the new voice. Vox Novus, the new dimension. Vox Novus, thought and movement leaders who will share from their experience and offer tools to help us navigate our rapidly changing world. My name is Victor Furman. Welcome to Vox Novus, the new voice. My dear friend, Gloria Hass, openly and bravely shares her personal experiences as a gray hybrid and more, with nuanced understanding and emotional intelligence. She opens the portal for all of us to have a greater understanding of both the physical and spiritual ramifications of these experiences. She offers the platform for all of us to stand up and join her in sharing our reality as experiencers and acknowledge that we are the disclosure. Gloria joins me this week to discuss her path and new book, Disclosure from the Galactic Realm. Please join me in welcoming back Gloria Hass. Welcome, Gloria.
Thank you, Victor.
Congratulations on your new book, Disclosure from the Galactic Realm. You are a prolific writer. How many books does that make for you?
Well, if you count the blank line journals, which are 17, and books that are no longer available, which are 12, and 11 currently published, that's 40.
Wow. Share with our listeners some of the current titles.
Some of my current titles are My Journey as a Gray Hybrid, Extraterrestrial, Metaphysical, Paranormal, and Visionary Encounters, years 2022 and 2023. I've also written some fiction books, The Dick Jorgensen Murder, and a current title is a children's book called The Dragon and the Swan, and it's a picture book.
Wonderful, wonderful. For listeners meeting you for the first time, please share the story of your remarkable entry into this world.
Well, I was born into a lower income family, and it was, I would call my mom and my dad and my older brother, and the baby that my mother gave birth to was stillborn, and she wasn't alive. And that's when my soul, as a gray starseed, I came into her life. And that is how it starts. And I remember I remember waiting right by where the doctor was holding the baby upside down. And my mom kept saying, the doctor wanted to announce the baby's death. And my mom is saying, no, please try one more time. And that's where they held the baby upside down in 1956 and spanked their hind end to get them to breathe. And that's then, next thing I know, I was pushed in. I could feel myself being pushed or sucked into the baby. And then my mom said, I let out a blood-curdling scream. And she was pleased to know that I was still breathing. But because of that delay caused for the brain to have a learning disability.
And what was that learning disability?
I still have trouble every now and then, even after recovering from a head injury, which helped with the learning disability. I couldn't initiate some concepts, math concepts. I could not understand them at all. And it took me until my 20s to be even able to count back change to people and really get to know some good basics of math. And also foreign languages. I could understand it, but I wasn't able to speak it very well. I couldn't retain it to speak it, but I could retain it to understand it if there was a lot of repetition. So when I had to take Spanish in 6th grade, I could not learn it. I tried so hard, and God bless my teacher, who was from Spain, said, Gloria, you're never going to pass this class. And I asked him, what can I do? And he said, I tell you what, do you like music? And I said, yes. He said, I want you to to learn this song, and I want you to memorize it and sing the whole thing. And because of that, I passed the class with a C.
What a wonderful teacher. That was so
Yes.
nice. So nice. What other challenges did you face growing up as a gray hybrid?
Well, challenges that I faced was people, actually health, and understanding the dense, living in a dense body, trying to, here I was as a hybrid, I mean, as a star seed, I didn't have the trouble of everything I have now. I had to learn to eat where before I could get nourishment through my fingertips, and the digestion and elimination, that whole thing was difficult, as well as wearing clothes. I hated clothes. I hated shoes. My mom would make me wear shoes, and I would take off shoes and socks and run around barefoot. I needed to feel free.
How old were you when you first experienced contact with extraterrestrials, and what was that like?
Well, I'm going to talk from a human point of view since I grew up as an extraterrestrial. I was about, I would say 9 or 10. I was bored. And long story short, my mom said, go, I asked if she said, just see if, your friend can, go play. And I was going to call. She said, no, walk down there. So she lived half a block from where I lived. So we were walking back, and she's like, Gloria, do you see that? And I'm just chattering away, looking all over the place, like, and I'm looking around, see what? And she had to point to it, because that was something, it's like, what are you talking about? There's so many different things, because we lived in a neighborhood where there's birds and bunnies and dogs and cats and horses. So it's like, what are you, pointing to? So she showed me down the street, and she said, um, we saw something laying, on the street. And I'm like, is that a horse? As we walked closer, and we were standing by it, and it was a dismembered horse. So our parents didn't believe us, because by the time we went and got our moms and came back, it was gone except the outline of the blood. And she went home with her mom and got put on restriction for a month. And my mom said, give me time to cool off. So our parents didn't believe us that we didn't pull a practical joke with red food dye. That would, horse is pretty big. And this was an adult size horse, half of it. So that would take a lot of red food dye. And being 9 or 10, we didn't have the money or the resources to do any of that. So I remember standing there, and I was looking down at the dried blood, and I looked up, and there was a UFO. And I saw the underside of it right above the top of the trees. And there were adult-sized trees. And I looked up, and I was upset, because that's not what I grew up with as a gray extraterrestrials. Took care of animals and loved them and preserving them. And I looked up, and I said out loud, I think I said out loud, I may have done it telepathically, what did this horse ever do to you to deserve this? And I looked back down, and I looked up, and the UFO was gone.
Did you sense any type of an answer?
No,
Just
I,
departure.
yep, just departure. I think it may have been a test to see how I would respond. I don't know if it was the nefarious, species, and it could have been because, or it could have been, I've heard of the regeneration of animals, and that's where the extraterrestrials they take body parts, and then they regenerate them and put the animals in an environment where they cannot be hunted down or killed or abused.
Did you ever have a sense of what type of extraterrestrial did this?
No, I know that it was a silver saucer with the lights underneath, and I don't know if it was reptilian. Like I said, it could have been the Greys. It might have been the reptilians. I don't know.
And where was this? Where did this take place?
Quartz Hill, California. It's in the Mojave Desert.
When did you realize that you were a gray hybrid, and how did this change your life?
Well, I knew that growing up that I was an extraterrestrial, but it wasn't until I started writing my journey as a gray hybrid that I started, the gray extraterrestrials told me the book needed to be written. And I said, you're going to have to bring back some memories. And that's when I started wondering, even before that, I had outlined the book and I had done a documentary. And at the time, I thought it was my mother's side of the family. And then I was emailing a cousin of mine on my father's mother's side of the family. And we were comparing notes. And she said, does this explain why I knew how to do things that I didn't otherwise know how to do? Because she, like me, could understand how to fix machines, concepts, everything else without training. And that's when things started clicking, that both of us are a gray hybrid from the family line. Because mine came from my dad, and I'm related and through the family lineage. She's a seventh and eighth cousin up the line, and she was born a couple of years before me. So it was coming from her mother's side of the family. So we haven't traced it back beyond that because the people are not living.
Is this type of manifestation of being a hybrid familial? Does it run in many families?
Yes, it does. There are from the Russian side. That's why I thought it was my mother's side, because from people who are Russian and Jewish and other lineages like Egyptians and people in Africa, it's in all walks of life that we have all of this coming down from the extraterrestrials.
Now you're
And it
20.
is,
I'm sorry. I'm
I'm
sorry. Go ahead.
sorry, and it is life changing because while it can answer questions, it can also be a shock at the same time. People are going, well, it's like someone being adopted into a family and not knowing who their birth parents are, or not knowing that they were adopted. And then one day it was like they are adopted. Find out, even though they look similar to their adoptive family, it's a shock. And it's just like, well, who do I take after then? Who am I? And you start questioning who you are as a person. But what matters is who you are in your core. It doesn't matter your lineage. It matters who you are today. It doesn't matter about the past, unless, of course, it's met for medical reasons. It just matters about who loved you, who raised you, and, like I said, who you are today.
And as you mentioned, you detailed these stories in your 2023 best-selling book, My Journey as a Gray Hybrid. What do you share with readers in that groundbreaking book?
I share about my life growing up with my human family, the trauma, the abuse that I endured, as well as I go into the long span of not hearing from the extraterrestrials until my 20s. My 3 impregnations, I had 3 extraterrestrial children, all raised aboard ship. Here I thought that I had miscarried. And in actuality, they took the children, but my 4th pregnancy was full term for a gray, which was like 5 months, because I could feel the baby moving 4 or 5 months, which is actually full term, and giving birth and then the baby disappearing. right before my eyes.
And when you delivered the baby, where was this?
My water had broken. I was at a friend's house. We were practicing. It was my dance partner's at the time apartment. We were practicing a competition we were going into and having. And the doctor had already told me that he was going to put me on bed rest that following Monday at the hospital. And we were we were practicing for a competition coming up. And I started where I found out they were labor pains, rating up pains going up my back and down my legs. So I felt like I had to go to the bathroom. I sat on the toilet, my water broke, and then probably about half an hour to an hour later, I delivered in the toilet.
And how was the child taken?
By the extraterrestrials. They
The,
came and it's like they dematerialized the baby as if the baby was never even there.
mm, mm. And how many total children did you have, hybrid children?
3.
3. Tell us a little bit about those children.
Well, uh, I had 2 boys and a girl, and my oldest son, Pashenka, had inherited my mother's mental illness. I found out I was able to speak with him about a month before he passed. And all 3 of them were well, I know 2 of them were upset. My daughter and my oldest son were upset that they didn't know about me and that I was still alive. I had been held from them, which caused them both because they inherited the human emotions that they weren't wanted. Like I didn't want them, even though nothing was spoken. They went through the classes that they had to go through. And because of Pashenka's rebellion, he joined the nefarious reptilians and greys. And when my daughter, Trevka, had contacted him, they had been in contact and let them know that mom is still alive. We spoke briefly, but his communications with me was monitored. And I remember our last communication. He said, I can't, now that I understand, I can't be like this anymore. He said, but if I leave, I will be killed. And I told him, do what you need to do for you and your survival. And I understand. Well, he had gotten a spaceship and was going away. And the nefarious caught up with him and killed him and sent his body back to his father. And we had a memorial service. But then also his spirit came to visit me, and it was just pure love. And it was just very wonderful to experience. And I'm not sad that he's gone. I am glad that he is in a more peaceful place now from what he had, because I had seen what my mom and my half brother went through as humans with this mental illness. And it's not pleasant for them with the rage and everything else that goes on with brain chemistry alterations because the chemistry is off. And my daughter is, she has brown hair like I used to have when I was younger. When I became a teenager, my hair was darker. And I saw her without the coverings over the eyes, and she has blue eyes. And she has a daughter of her own who is adorable. I've seen imagery of her. I'm not allowed to be around her because she's going through classes, and Trefka isn't allowed to see her that often either because of the training they need to do and concentrate on what their training is. And from what I understand, she is full of emotion, just like a human baby would be. And my daughter did breed with a human male. She was artificially inseminated. So that baby, my granddaughter, is more human than extraterrestrial. And then my younger son, Idkor, he is more like his father, expressionless, emotionless, more matter of fact. He hides his emotions. That's part of the training. You don't, with what he does. He works with the technology, and he has to keep a clear mind and clear focus on what needs to be done. But we have spoken, and I remember when all three of them were little goblins. I was in my 30s, and I thought I was literally having goblins coming and visiting me and ringing my doorbell and harassing me. I could see these little, 1 to 2 feet high things. They look like goblins running around, and then they would run off and they would disappear. And Trevka at Pashenka's memorial service, she said, she goes, Mom, do you remember when you lived in this apartment and your doorbell was ringing? And go, yes. She goes, that was us playing jokes on you.
Oh.
So Idkor was born with emotions and feelings and laughter. He trained himself to just hold it in so he can do a better job for what he needs to do.
Wonderful. My guest, Gloria Hass, her new book, Disclosure from the Galactic Realm. We're going to talk about that in the next segment. Gloria, please share with our listeners where they can find out more about you and all of your books.
Well, they can find out about me at gloria-hass.yolasite, YOLASITE.com, or they can go ahead and put my name in search at Amazon.com, and they will find my books there.
And we'll be back with more of Gloria after these words on the Om Times Radio Network.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM. Om Times Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Om Times, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Imagine yourself being transported to India, to the banks of the Ganga and an ashram in Rishikesh. Visualize that you are welcome to satsang with an American sannyasi who shares the wisdom of her guru. Your visualization has manifested. Join Sattvi Bhagawati Saraswati for inspiration and transformation every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on Om Times Radio.
If I could be you,
and you could be me,
for just 1 hour.
If you could find a way
to get inside
each other's mind.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Hi, this is Bill Maher. I can find humor in almost anything, but one thing I never laugh about is cruelty to animals. If you don't get the joke either, write People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, 501 Front Street, Norfolk, Virginia, 23510.
Back on Vox Novus, my guest this week is Gloria Hass. Gloria, before we start talking about your new book, Disclosure from the Galactic Realm, the last time you were on, you had just launched your book, Extraterrestrial, Metaphysical, Paranormal, and Visionary Encounters, years 22 and 2023. What did you share in that book?
I shared what the title basically says, encounters with the extraterrestrials. As a human, I've had abductions, I had seen UFOs, I had pictures of markings from the nefarious Bigfoot. And yes, there are alien Bigfoots. If you want to call them big, I don't know, you call them big feet or Sasquatch, but they do have spaceships and they have red glowing eyes and long fingers and they leave puncture marks and scratches. And I also share in that book some metaphysical travels that I had done where also energy bumps up against parallel lives. And getting back to the metaphysical part, there are journeys that I took. And even when I was walking my dog in 2022 down a sidewalk we would normally take, it was like entering into a different I walked through a portal. While things looked alive before I stepped through this gateway, the trees looked the same, except they looked dead, and there were they looked like about the size of iguanas on the trees, no birds flying, no sound, no noise. And then we were able to, walk out of it, and my dog did her business. So when we were coming back, we walked back through that portal and gateway. Things were the same, and the iguana stuck its tongue out at me, and I'm like, okay. There was like there was no sunshine. And just beyond that are some short palm trees. And we walked through that. And on the other side, it was light. The birds were singing, cars were going by. And that's one thing. While in this space, there were no cars on the streets.
What do you think that portal represented?
To show me that it can happen in the physical realm. Because I've seen people disappear before my eyes and walk into a portal. And I don't know, even my dog would look around like, where did they go? But I had never experienced anything like that. And I think it represented my having an experience to share with people that there are different worlds you can walk into if the gateway is there. And I'm glad if everything was so dark, and to me, it represented death, that, something dark, like of the dark underworlds. That's not a place I would want to visit.
What inspired your new book, Disclosure from the Galactic Realm?
Well, actually, I had some people asking me, well, are you going to share about, a few people asked me, are you going to share about your experiences as an extraterrestrial? I said, well, I thought I already did that in my first two books, not really understanding. And one of my friends and I were texting, and he wrote and said, why don't you share your knowledge that you know? I'm like, it wouldn't fill a book, is what I was thinking. Because, memories need to be, jogged as your it's like all I was thinking was, to me, it was just normal day-to-day activity. And he said, from not being a paranormal, he said, or a starseed or a hybrid, I would like to know more about it. And I'm thinking, well, I put the word out to the Galactic Federation. Do you want me to write this book? And if so, can you please give me an outline of where I need to start? Well, Mr. Grant Cameron, back this past spring, interviewed me on my book, my second book, and my Journey as a Gray Hybrid, my first one. And he asked me, with you having vast knowledge and more knowledge than other people I have interviewed and spoken to about these things, and he went into a little detail about it, and he said, why don't you write a book about it? And I said, okay. So it gave me an outline, and then I went back to the numerous podcasts I had already done and used the outline form of what people, what the interviewer asked me, and I'm writing it down. And then I also put questions out there. If you could speak to an extraterrestrial, what would you ask them? And I got some questions off of that. And that's how Disclosure from the Galactic Realm came about.
Wonderful. And you begin the book with a quote from Edward Everett Hale. Please share that quote with us and what it means to you.
I am only one, but I am one. I cannot do everything, but I can do something. And I will not let what I cannot do interfere with what I can do. What this means to me is I don't have all the answers, but I can share what I know. I don't have to make sure everything is perfect, and I won't let that interfere with what I can share with other people. I won't let my human shortcomings interfere with how I can contribute to the world.
Beautiful. I had a wonderful spiritual teacher who used to share that when Moses received the 10 commandments, there should have been an 11th commandment at that time, thou shalt have purpose. And you certainly have purpose.
Well, thank you. I sometimes wonder about that purpose because it has changed. And people say your purpose can change, but the bottom line behind the modalities is helping people.
Absolutely. How does your personal faith and spirituality reflect in your understanding of the ETs?
The interesting part is that I was raised that all extraterrestrials are demons. And I was scared to say anything out loud. That was all fantasy. That wasn't real. And God only created angels, humans, and demons. And that Earth is the only inhabitable planet ever that God had ever created. So I'm like, okay. But then I kept reading in the Bible when God spoke with Cain, and Cain pleaded that he will be killed. When God cast him out because he killed his brother Abel, he will be killed. Who's going to kill him? And God said, I will put a mark on your forehead so you will not be slain. That immediately told me there was more civilization out there. And I started reading Genesis again about God created the heavens and the earth. And I was told there are only 3 heavens, first, second, and third heaven. And then I started thinking, well, there's got to be more than just what we know. And I started questioning the other planets and started having recall about, as an extraterrestrial, I had been on Mars when there was water. And, recall of different places that people said, oh no, what you dreamt of was heaven. And what I actually dreamt of was my life as an extraterrestrial, taking care of animals and being, and being with other ETs. But then I had to push that all out of my head. And then being able to levitate, is that a normal human thing? Telekinesis, psychokinesis, is all of that normal for people? And there's some people who have been able to achieve it after many years of meditation. And then I put that on the back burner. And then when I started writing my book, when people are describing about the chariot and Enoch being taken up in a cloud, and then Ezekiel, being taken up. One of them was taken up on a chariot. I can't remember which one that was. And then I started reading the description in Revelation, and that can be construed as a spaceship. And then when I watched the movie Avatar, their helicopters were designed after what was in the Bible. And here the humans are inhabiting a planet that wasn't theirs and using this technology that's been described in the Bible. So I put it all together. And even though I've had people tell me that I am possessed with demons, I have demons all around me, I ignore it because I know that is not my truth.
Do some ET races have a faith in God similar to human faith?
Yes, they do. They have their religion. And that has been confirmed to me recently by another woman we were texting. and her experiences of ETs. And I said, I know that they have rituals. And she goes, yes, they have their own religion. And God has allowed them to choose to worship him or their other gods like he has given humans. And they have, I know the Greys have the memorial service for the dead, like we did with Pashenka. And also, before a woman is impregnated, they have what look like stones sitting on a table. And this is in like, it looks like a stone room, and it could be a spaceship or an underground facility where they are. And they have the three tables, one in the center, one to the right and one to the left. And they have the light coming through stone, which reminds me of, the light of God. And they will pick up one of the stones, put it from the right, put it in the middle on the table and into where the light shines down on it. And then after a little bit, they put the stone to the left. And that is resembling the woman's eggs. And through the process of God blessing the union and putting it to the left. So then God has blessed this impregnation union. So then the women can become impregnated.
You had mentioned hybrid children having some emotions. Do non-hybrids express emotions such as sadness, happiness, and love?
Yes, they do. There are some who do. And I know that I had feelings as a hybrid. I have feelings, and also as an extraterrestrial. And there comes a time when everybody has to put their emotions on the back burner. The children are taught, like I said, my granddaughter is full of energy and full of laughter and giggles. And when the Greys started evolving, they were shutting off their emotions, and they have abducted women to come and sit in the baby nursery and hold the babies. And I remember being held by a woman in the baby nursery, and I don't know if it was my mother or a human. I don't have that memory. But the children that are hybrids and extraterrestrials are, if they're straight extraterrestrials, they don't show as much. They're more highly evolved with showing less emotion, but they have more analytical skills. But children who are hybrids do have emotions and do compare themselves against their classmates. So that is why they are taken off to a different class, which I explain in my book, Disclosure from the Galactic Realm, to where they can excel at their own rate without feeling inferior. They want to be raised with, you are okay the way you are, and you will excel at your own rate. And that is what is nurtured.
And are ET children, not hybrid, but straight ET children, raised in a way that is similar to the raising of human children?
No, we're not. Like I said, we are in a baby nursery. We're being held, and we're mostly around groups of other ET children where we don't interface with, after a certain age, we don't interface and interact with our extraterrestrial parents. Because we were given birth, we have our position in life, our purpose, our job, and that is where we go into training and the different things. And it's all classwork. It's all analytical and not much emotion. You don't have a teacher showing a smile of you did a good job. You're just told, very well done. And you took that praise, not egotistically, but knowing that you did a good job and that your next challenge will be coming next.
Why are human children abducted, and what happens during the abduction?
Well, they're taken in their sleep and aboard a spaceship, and they are included in the various programs. They also are taken aboard the different spaceships, shown the technology. And I've heard this from somebody that I was speaking to when I first started writing My Journey as a Gray Hybrid. We were speaking on the phone. He goes, Gloria, you know what that ship is. You were there. And it's a long bank of, look like computer monitors. We're shown all of that. We're interfaced with that information. And I do believe that while the human children are exposed to this, that it is somehow assimilated somehow into their DNA to when they come back, they can do different things. Or if it's not assimilated, they can let people know that I had a good experience. I got to see all this technology and there's nothing to fear.
And as I shared with you personally, when I was 5 years old, I used to attend what I called night school. And when I tell my parents about it, they told me I had an overactive imagination until I started bringing in information that I had no source for as a 5-year-old in 1958. So we share that common experience. My guest, Gloria Hass, will be back with more after these words on the Om Times Radio Network.
Humanity Healing International is a small nonprofit with a big dream. Since 2007, HHI has been working tirelessly to bring help to communities with little or no hope. Our projects are not broad mandates, nor are they overnight solutions, but they bring the reassurance that no one is alone and that someone cares. To learn more, please visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
More than 24 million Americans have an autoimmune disorder, and that number continues to grow. I'm Sharon Saylor, and I'm one of those 24 million. To put that number in perspective, cancer affects about 9 million and heart disease up to 22 million. That's why I've brought together top experts and those thriving regardless of their diagnosis to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information. Join me, Sharon Saylor, Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, for the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio to find out how to live your life uninterrupted.
Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Let's breathe. Deep inhale. Extend your spine. Exhale very slowly. Find mental health resources at loveyourmindtoday.org. This message is brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ed Council.
Back on Vox Novus, my guest this week is Gloria Hass. We're talking about her new book, Disclosure from the Galactic Realm. Gloria, we had talked about biblical references to ETs. We had talked about the chariot of fire that Elijah rode into heaven, the wheels within wheels that Ezekiel saw. Are there biblical references to the ETs themselves?
I would say they're heavenly beings because they live in the heavens. They live inside our galaxy, outside of time, like God does. And they've inhabited other planets. So I take them as being heavenly beings. And the Bible also refers to the Nephilim. So I take that the Nephilim are angels, or they could be extraterrestrials with supernatural strength like the reptilians, and you have your benevolent reptilians. So why not have like Hercules and the different gods, what we call the demigods, mythology and everything? I believe they actually lived, and I believe that they're all part of the heavenly beings and coming to Earth.
And can humans call out to ETs and connect with them, as in the CE5 modality?
Yes, they don't even need to use a CE5 group modality if they don't want to, because things are done telepathically, that they can they first need to speak to benevolent extraterrestrials, because if you don't, you may get a surprise of having the nefarious answer your call. You call out telepathically, I would like to meet with you, and give it time. They'll pick up your energy, and you can keep calling out. They may or may not respond with showing of a spacecraft, or you seeing an extraterrestrial materializing on the street and dematerializing. Some people say that they just, at higher vibration is what makes them disappear. And some people have picked them up on their webcams around their homes. But you have to be careful that once you call out, it's not just a one-time visit. They may end up saying, okay, and if you are really wanting to be a part of our program, because you keep calling out to us, you may become part of that program. And you don't have a choice over the abductions. Your females have their eggs harvested, men have their sperm taken from them, and cells taken off of your skin and your hair, in your sleep, impregnations, different jobs. Just know that that can happen. But yes, people can call out to them. And also, if you are really wanting them to, just say at the end, just say thank you that you have heard me, and leave it at that. Be polite. Don't be nasty or anything. If you're going to be nasty or anything, you may never hear from them, and they can read your motives. So if you think, oh, I'm going to fake be nice, know that they know your heart, just like God does. So they know what your motives are.
Was there an understanding of what your life would be like before being born as a gray hybrid? And did you have any choices in this?
I always said I didn't have a choice, but I had just learned recently that we chose this life. I had a choice to either stay on the spaceship and live out my regular life, and lose my status in the extraterrestrial ranking of the family that I was born into, or I could come to Earth and serve a greater good for the gray extraterrestrials. And I had a good life on the spaceship, one that would be considered royalty. So I came here into a lower income family, and was for the hardiness of the person's spirit and soul that I would take over. So I'm told that when I signed up to go into the gray hybridization program, that I did have a choice as to what I was coming into.
Please share with us some of your experiences with the Galactic Federation Council.
The Galactic Federation Council they have people, the species has personalities just like we do. They can be gruff, they can be gossipy, they can be controlling. And even when I go back for a meeting, it's a council of 10. And recently they've added a few more of some species. And it's like I report back to what is going on. They overlook me. They're my protection, and they make sure that things are going according to the purpose of what I signed up for. And I can go, and I just found out recently, I can go to them if I have trouble with my extraterrestrial mate around the time that he didn't want me talking to the children anymore because they were feeling emotion. I went to the Galactic Federation and I said, he's interfering. And they told him to back off, that he was interfering with my relationship with them. I said, he had them all those years. I didn't even know they existed. Now I need my time. I want my time. I'm their mom. And the Galactic Federation honored that. Also, there are weddings to attend. I'm a general in security, Department of Security, to where I will be taken to a spaceship or different events that I need to oversee and make sure everything runs according to security like we do here on the earth and there are times, but as an extraterrestrial, we have other technology and things that are afforded to us that humans don't have. So things, we have different sub-councils, subcommittees that report on different things that all pertain to what the goal of that specific Galactic Federation was wanting to do.
What message would the Galactic Federation Council like humanity to hear and to understand?
I've heard that other councils also have the same message as mine, from the benevolence, extraterrestrials, because they're different from the nefarious. They want people to know that they know what's going on, and some of them have a do not interfere agreement, and some can interfere with, let's say, somebody laughs at me or says nasty things to me or tries to physically hurt me. They can interfere with my safety. They can interfere with what the person is wanting to do, and they will give the person a message, whether they might hear a warning from someone saying back off, and that could be me. And if the person continues to laugh at me, I've heard them say, what do you want us to do? I said, this is your job. It's not mine. I'm not telling you to hurt people, but you just need to do what you are contracted to do. And a couple of people have met with injuries that it took them several months to overcome. I don't tell them to do that, but that is their job, to keep me safe and to interfere in that way. But they, on a grand scale, they want people to be friendly towards one another, kindness, love, and to quit fighting with all this division, because that's what the nefarious extraterrestrials are doing through people and the government and the news media. So it's like, let's back off. Let's be united like we used to be, because united we stand, together we are stronger than if we're divided, because it's easier for people to fall when they are divided. You can pick them off one by one.
And it's interesting to me, having studied this in interfaith seminary, that there is an iteration of the golden rule in virtually every faith and religion. Do unto others as you have them do unto you. Love thy neighbor as thyself. That could be a universal galactic message, couldn't it?
Yes, and it is. Be kind to people. Love one another. That's their message, and it's being sent through different people. Be loving, be kind. And those are channeled messages people are bringing. I will even have, I've had videos in the past on that and on my timeline, be good to yourself, be good to other people, because you need to be good to yourself first before you can actually be good to other people.
What would you like readers to take away from Disclosure from the Galactic Realm?
That's a good question, Victor. I'd like them to take away that what I have learned is showing people a different side of extraterrestrials than what the naysayers and the government plants are with disinformation. You need to be afraid. They're negative. They're going to suck your life out of you. They'll kill you. That's more than nefarious. People have had positive and negative experiences with extraterrestrials. Some have had all negative, because that's what they are doing in their life, is on the negative side of life. But know that extraterrestrials are curious. They have life. They were here before us. They were created long before man. And we were not the first galaxy that God created. Actually, we don't know the time between the galaxy being created than when man was created. So know that the extraterrestrials are no different than human beings. And respect them. Show them respect.
The same respect that we need to show to one another. The wisdom of my guest, Gloria Hass, her new book, Disclosure from the Galactic Realm. Gloria, one more time, please share with listeners where they can get all of your books and find out more about you.
You can do a search on Gloria Hass on Amazon.com, and you can go to my website, gloria-hass.yolasite, YOLASITE.com. And at the bottom, you will see pictures of 3 of my books. You can click on that. That will take you to Amazon. And then you can click on my name to see another list of my books.
Gloria, always a pleasure to have you on and sharing your amazing stories. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Victor. I enjoy being interviewed by you. You make it so easy.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for joining us on Vox Novus. I'm Victor, the Voice Furman. Have a wonderful week.